Hey guys, it's Jason here from the Omni Sales team. And my question to you today is, do you want to connect with your clients even when they don't have land? You know when customers walk in and you feel like they're just a tire kicker because they don't have land? How can you connect with them even if they don't have land? And if they do have land, how can you show yourself as the expert? Well, in today's video, we're gonna go through and we're gonna break that down via siting a home on a block of land. Guys, believe it or not, the amount of consultants that overlook this simple detail is insane. So many consultants think you need a block of land to do a siting, but that's simply not true. In this video, we're gonna go step by step and understand the importance of siting and why every single client should be leaving your display with siting. So grab a pen and paper, let's take some notes and let's get into this one. Step one of siting a home is understanding what is a siting. So it's the first place we start. What is a siting and why is it important? So a siting is simply the house plans that you have, which all of your builders will have multiple, even hundreds of house plans you can pick from. How does that look on a block of land? It's key. How does that house look on a block of land? How much backyard? How much side yard? How much front yard? How long's the driveway? All of these things are what you look at when you're looking at a siting. Now, the basic level of siting, and we get into some advanced skills later, but the basic level of siting is just seeing the distances from your boundaries so the client can start to conceptualize what their land or how much land is going to be left for them to have, for them to be able to have people in the backyard, for them to be able to host parties, for them to have kids, whatever. It's for them just to see size. That's the basic level of understanding a siting. It is the house plan on a block of land so that the client can see how much land they have left over, or they can see how much land that they can still utilize. Like they can put a pool in, you can put a shed in, you can do all of those things on sitings. It's just to see how you're taking advantage of the block of land you have. So that's what is a siting. Now, why are they so important? Because it's the first step in the client's conceptualizing their house or the conceptualizing their build. But what it also does is it drives emotion from them. It drives emotion to them to say, this is my home. You're giving them something tangible. You got to remember, in new home sales, everything we do, we're kind of selling in the head. We're selling a dream. We're selling like a vision, where when you go and buy real estate, you're buying a physical product. In construction, you're buying a vision, you're buying off the plan. You don't really know what you're getting. Like, unless you're really, really architecturally minded or construction minded, a lot of people can't actually visualize what the home's gonna be until they get in. The actual physical feeling of being in your home can be different to what you conceptualize. Now, the siting is really important because it's the first tangible piece that you give the client, that the client can see some tangible or some sort of product they're getting. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but every day people are reaching out asking, Jason, how can we do sales training with you? So if you're in new home construction, if you've just started, if you're a seasoned pro, even if you're the #1 sales consultant at your company, every single one of us need a coach to get to that next level. So if that sounds like someone like you, click on the link in the description right now. It's gonna ask for your name, your number, and a simple opt-in message to say I can give you a call. But if you wanna skip past that entirely, simply text the number on the screen right now, 0427 915 668. Just text me a question, guys, and I'll jump on a call and have a chat with you right now. But guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. Let's get back to it. So it gives them that first level of, oh, okay, this is becoming real. Like when you see a siting, particularly if you don't do this all the time, it's the first feeling of this being a real process. And that's why they're so important, because it starts to connect emotion to the dream the client is having. It starts to connect emotion from your product to the client. And this is key. So that's one. Number two, it builds trust. What do I mean by building trust? Well, we know from what is a sale. A sale is a transfer of courage, trust, and enthusiasm from the seller to the buyer so the buyer can make a courageous, trustworthy, and enthusiastic buying decision. Now, when I say building trust, what is it doing? It's building the trust factor in that buying environment we talk about. Now, why is it building trust? Because it shows that you're competent at your job. And when we get into some advanced knowledge down below here, you're gonna be able to like elevate yourself in the client's head and go, whoa, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Or this guy really understands construction and really understands what she's doing. So it's all about building trust, which is why we site homes for everybody. And when we get into step 3 right now, siting without land, top secret. The reason I call this top secret is the amount of consultants that don't do this blow me away. Why does a client need a block of land for you to do a siting for them? Wouldn't it be better if you just do a sighting for them so they can see what kind of land? Because you know where they're buying. You're going to ask them questions like, what estate are you looking in? What kind of size block are you trying to get? What are you hoping to get out of this? When you get those details from the client, you can use that details to then put a house on a block of land that's imaginary like that so they can actually see it. Again, it's becoming a tangible item for them and they're emotionally connecting to your product. So that's why I call it a top secret skill or a secret sauce, but every single person who walks into your display should be leaving with a sighting. Why? Because it's tangible, they can look at it, and most importantly, it's something that stays with them when they go home. So they can see all the marketing books, all of the house plans, but what they're really going to pick up every night is they're going to pick up the sighting and go, wow, this is how we're going to utilize the land. This is how we're going to utilize the home. Now, also for the client, if they walk into a developer's office or into a land agent's office with a sighting, it does two things. Number one, it automatically shows the developer or the land agent what kind of land they're looking for. So the developer or the land agent can then show them the recommendations based on that. Number two, they're walking in to a land agent with your name. There's the sighting has it and it has your name somewhere on it because all of the programs put our name on it. It has your name. So when the land agent picks up that file and looks at the sighting, they're like, oh, I can see that Jason from XYZ Build is helping you out. Man, he's a really good guy. Look, we'll look at this block of land. I might send him a quick email and let him know you dropped by. Guys, you're building more and more trust in your clients every time you do this. Every conversation they have with someone and that person sees your name, the more trust it's building. So that's why I call it a secret weapon. That's why I call it a secret or a top secret is you should sight everybody with or without land. To be honest, sighting people without land can end up being more powerful than even sighting them when they do have land because everyone's doing that. You're just like everyone else. Finally, advanced knowledge. There's a few things you need to understand with sighting a home that goes a little bit above what the general client's knowledge is going to be. Number one, you need to understand when you're sighting a home, solar orientation. So what is solar orientation? Depending on where you live in Australia, whether it's super hot in the summer, cooler in the winter, whatever, there's going to be a certain way you should face the home to maximize the sun energy or the heat from the sun throughout your home. So for example, in Queensland, my personal favorite is to actually have south-facing land or southwest-facing land, and I'll explain why. Firstly, the sun in Australia, or the sun itself, travels in a northerly direction. So it'll start on the east coast. It starts on the east coast, which will be over here. It'll be over here. It starts on the east coast. It travels in a northern direction and then sets on the west coast. Why is this important? Because the sun travels on an arc and goes more north than it does south, it means anywhere that faces north is going to get the maximum amount of sunlight. It's going to feel the brightest. It's going to feel the happiest, which is why you tend to find a lot of house designs put the kitchen at the back next to the outdoor area, particularly in Queensland, because that's where the sun's coming in if you have a north rear-facing block. So if it's a south-facing block, sorry. Now, the other things to do with solar orientation is like, where do you want the eastern sun to come in? So the eastern sun is all about that morning sun. When you wake up, you have those fresh rays come through the glass and it just makes the home feel alive. You should always have that facing the kitchen or facing the living area. Because when you get out of bed, you roll out, you're all like tired, you walk into the living room and it feels bright and happy. It just wakes you up. It makes you feel better. The western side sun, that's the hottest sun, particularly in Queensland. It's harsh in the summer. You want that having facing a media room or a garage or a room that you're never really going to be opening windows or there's big windows to let a lot of light in. Why? Because it's always going to feel hot in that room. And that's where you can walk into some houses and just like walk into one room and go, phew, and then walk into the lounge room and be like, oh, this is cooler. It's because of how the sun is hitting the home. These things are key. The other way to look at solar orientation, I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many times have you walked into a home and like you've just walked down the hallways or walked into an area and you're like, man, it just feels so dark in here. It's just like really dark. Like it just feels claustrophobic almost. That's because a lot of the windows are going to be facing the south orientation. So if you have if you have a north facing block, the backyard where you're looking out into the backyard is going to face south and you're going to feel like that's darker because the sun's going to be traveling in that northern direction. So these kind of key analyses are so important for you to understand because when you start peppering the client, like do a little bit of research. If you do the Omni Sales training programs, we have all of the breakdowns of how solar orientation works, mapping guides, all that kind of stuff. But if you don't want to do that, do some research on your own and just understand how the solar orientation affects the house and why it's important to try and maximize the solar orientation because it makes it feel like it's a nicer home. But when you're explaining these key concepts to clients, this is like where this is what I mean by building trust. You're giving the client the trust that you really understand homes. Now, obviously, you don't want to over-explain it because then people are going to get lost, but giving them enough nuggets where they can be like, oh, I didn't know that. It just helps edify you as an individual. So that's first one. Second one is understanding wind direction, wind speeds, and the flow, airflow, and how air flows and what wind directions come in. So when you're siting a home and you're putting a home on a block of land, depending on where you're going to face windows and stuff like that, similar to the sun, the way that wind enters the house and comes through. So you can walk into some homes and feel like it's just a death box in there because it's just hot and there's no flow, there's no airflow or anything like that. But you can walk into other homes that have a few windows open and it just feels like this gust is coming through and it's just that light breeze that helps the home feel really nice. These concepts are really important to understand with siting, and they're the other part of the coin that you should be going to understand. So that's the other part of orientating a house that's sort of an advanced skill and you should go and do a bit of research on. The third and final with siting a home, so many of our ethnic clients have religious reasons about why they need to have a home a certain way. If you have one of our clients from India, quite often they're following the Vastu way. If you have a Chinese or an Asian client, quite often they're following the Feng Shui way. These are particular ways the home must face in order to encourage the best sort of energy to come into the home. If you want to learn more about that, obviously we have that in the Omni Sales training courses, but if you don't want to go through that route, I would suggest you go and do a bunch of research on that. So the 4 things: solar orientation, airflow, Vastu, and Feng Shui. This is going to be a lot more important. So when you have these particular clients sitting in front of you, you can open the conversation with, hey guys, obviously you haven't got a block of land. Were you looking at following a Vastu building method? If it's an Indian client, or if it's an Asian client, are you looking at following a Feng Shui? What you'll find is it's a very respectful thing to ask, because if they are and you know something about that, boom, instantly you've got trust. If they're not and they're like, oh no, we're not really looking, we don't really care about that, great, you just go off like a normal conversation. But it just gives you that trust. It makes you seem like more of an expert than what you might be. So that's why I really encourage you guys that everybody, without fail, must walk out of your home with a sited home. They must have an understanding of some sort of solar, wind orientation. If there's any religious beliefs, you must give every single client that. And most importantly, remember that you are always building trust with your clients to become the most professional and trustworthy sales consultant out there. So as always, guys, if you want any more training on this, feel free to text the number on the screen right now, 0427 915 668. I'll give you a call and we can have a chat. Don't forget to leave a like and comment your toughest objection. I love doing videos on objection handling. Guys, as always, I'll see you on the next one.